Getting people from a moving ship to an offshore platform, sometimes hundreds of miles from land, is an everyday thing in the offshore energy industry. But how do you perform that kind of high-stakes maneuver safely in one of the most challenging environments on Earth? Well, let's break down the layers of planning and technology that make it all possible. Just look at this. It seems almost routine, doesn't it? But the reality is, moving a person from a heaving vessel to a fixed structure is this incredibly complex dance with the wind, the waves, and some very powerful machinery. The margin for error is razor thin, and that's why safety out here isn't just a suggestion, it's a meticulously planned system. So where does a system like that even start? It all begins with a really deep, multi-level risk assessment. And this isn't just some quick checklist someone runs through. This is the absolute bedrock of the entire operation. Now, what's really fascinating here is how safety is built in layers. First, you've got the strategic assessment. This happens way before anyone even gets to the site. It's where they decide which methods, like cranes or gangways, are even allowed. Then there's the operational assessment, which gets into the nitty-gritty, the exact vessels, the crew's training. And finally, you have the transfer assessment. That's the go, no-go decision made right there in the moment, based on the actual conditions. Okay, so it's one thing to have a process, but what are the actual dangers that can turn a routine transfer into a really bad day? Let's dive into the key factors. Wow, this list just shows you how many moving parts there really are. You're not just looking at the wind and the waves. You're assessing if the vessel can even hold its position, if every single piece of equipment is certified, and if everyone can communicate clearly. And this is crucial. You're also assessing the people. Are they properly trained? Are they tired? Are they anxious? Every single one of these is a critical piece of the safety puzzle. Once you have a clear picture of all those risks, the next move is to choose the right tool for the job. In the offshore world, it pretty much boils down to two main ways to get a person from point A to point B. First up, we've got the classic method, using a crane to lift people in a specially designed carrier. This is often the go-to solution when there's a big height difference between the boat deck and the platform. And this is a perfect illustration of how that equipment has evolved. On one side, you have a more traditional rigid basket. On the other, a fully enclosed capsule. I mean, it's pretty clear these modern designs offer way more protection against the biggest risks, getting hit from the side, a hard landing, or even falling into the water. But using a crane for people isn't as simple as just lifting cargo. The rules are incredibly strict. The crane has to be certified for what's called man riding, which is a much higher safety standard. The weather window is also really tight. If the wind or the boat's movement is too much for the crane, the whole thing is called off. Even the ropes they use to control the carrier's swing, called taglines, can be a snagging hazard. The bottom line is, every single part of this has to be perfect. Now let's look at the second method, which is a totally different ballgame. The walk-to-work gangway is, honestly, a marvel of modern engineering. And here it is in action. That gangway isn't just a simple bridge, no way. It's an active motion-compensated system. It's using some really advanced hydraulics and sensors to basically cancel out the vessel's movement, the pitch, the heave, the roll. It creates a steady, secure walkway right to the platform. This tech has been a game changer, dramatically widening the weather window for safe transfers. The safety system for this is different, though. It relies on the vessel holding its position perfectly, which usually means you need a dynamically positioned or DP vessel. It also needs super clear signals, like a traffic light system, to let people know when it's actually safe to cross. And maybe the most important thing is having a well-rehearsed emergency plan, just in case something goes wrong with the gangway or the ship's positioning. So let's put these two side by side. With a crane, the big dangers are to the person inside the carrier, falling, getting hit, or ending up in the water. For a gangway, the risk is more about the system itself failing, a tech glitch, or the vessel drifting off position. This one fundamental difference really dictates everything else, from what kind of boat you need to the kind of weather you can safely work in. Okay, so we've talked a lot about procedures and technology, but none of it means a thing without the right people. At the end of the day, offshore safety is a human effort, and it's built on a really clear chain of responsibility. Just look at all the different roles involved in making one single transfer happen. It's not just one person's job. You've got the vessel master, the offshore installation manager, or OIM, the crane operator, the deck crew. Every single person has a vital part to play in making sure things go smoothly and safely. But here's the thing. While the responsibility is shared, the accountability is very specific. This quote from the official guidance is absolutely crystal clear.
The buck stops with the vessel master or the OIM. They have the ultimate authority and the final say on whether a transfer is safe enough to proceed.
But all of that technology, all of those procedures, they all lead to one final and maybe the most important safety check. And it's one that doesn't involve any hardware at all. It's built entirely on trust and a really strong safety culture. So even after all the high-level planning, even after the master or the OIM gives the green light, there's one last check. And that check is done by the person who's actually about to make the transfer. This might just be the most powerful rule in the entire playbook. It explicitly says that any person, for any safety reason they have, has the absolute right to refuse a transfer. This right perfectly balances the authority of the leaders with the personal judgment of every individual. If you don't feel it's safe, you don't go, period. And that right is backed up by something called the Universal Stop Work Authority. This isn't just about refusing your own transfer. It means anyone, from the newest person on the deck crew all the way up to the OIM, has the power and the obligation to stop the entire operation if they see something unsafe. It makes sure that the person with the best view of a potential danger also has the power to prevent it. So, we've seen the risk assessments, the different technologies, and the chain of command. It all brings us back to this one final question. Who is the ultimate guardian of safety out there? Well, in the end, it's not a single person, it's the shared commitment of everyone involved. In an environment where the stakes are this high, the strongest safety system isn't a piece of equipment, it's a culture where every single person has the power and the responsibility to say no.